When short fiction writer Literary Light Shaena Lambert puts words together, they often capture your heart and a bit of your soul. In her new collection called Oh My Darling, she captures the complexities of life and reveals a bit of herself too. How nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
It says on the cover, fist pump marvelous.
I know, I love that. That was Lisa Moore. That means like this, boop. Or maybe drawing it down. Someone was saying, Chirp. But one way or the other.
Also says on the back, you write fist pump marvelous fiction.
I know, it's
and
so
in this
nice.
case, short fiction. Who taught you to write?
Oh, that's a really good question. Well, my mother taught me to write. My mother's a novelist and short story writer. And when I was little, I used to watch her type. She typed on an old, one of those old manual typewriters. And I used
Smith Corona.
Yeah, it was like that. Yeah, I think Smith Corona, or Ogilvy maybe. And it had, the really sticky keys that would, the T that would sort of make half a T, and it made this great clicking noise. And she would get so frustrated and pull the paper out and ball it up and throw it down on the floor, and I was just entranced. Thought this is such a passionate activity, I want to be there. I want to be inside that. And she was ignoring me too. Like as a little girl, I was like, where does she go? And so I decided I want to have part of that world.
And where did she go, do you think? And where do you go when you imagine, when you write?
Well, where she goes is very private. I mean, that's, this is the making up of stories. Where I go, something maybe twigs me, like with short stories, I might find a little seed somewhere of something, and then I'll put it in my notebook, and I'll leave it. And sometimes I'll leave it for a long time, and then I'll open up the notebook, and it'll be like nothing, like dust. It'll just blow away. But other times, I'll feel like it starts to, grow, and then I just kind of follow it, and it changes. A short story idea can change dramatically between the time that you first think of it and go, aha, that's a really good idea, and the time that you finally finish it.
And as an astute observer of people, you, Carol Shields, Alice Munro, all astute observers of people, you have to be careful. You don't write something too intimate about your best friend or a relative, so when they pick up, oh my darling, they think, that story is about me, even though it's fiction.
Yes, you have to be really careful. You have to somehow, if you're inspired by something that's really close to home, you do need to find a way to transform it so that people don't pick up the book and see some version of themselves. And but there's always that sense that you're kind of doing something a little transgressive, because the ideas come from anywhere.
And some of your ideas are a bit steamy. They're about heartbreak and revenge and revelation and about you, in a way. First story, title of the book, Oh My Darling.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, with that story, it deals with a woman who goes through her ordinary day, and the story is being told from the point of view of a kind of, the second person. You do this, you do that, you have this lovely little family, you have a fight with your daughter. And it turns out that the watcher, is actually what she discovers at the sort of near the end of the story is breast cancer. And it sneaks up on her. I'm hoping that the way the story works is that the reader feels as surprised as a person would when they discover that they have a lump in their breast. And it's the lump. It's actually the lump talking to her, but it's actually herself writing. There's a little twist in the story. Herself writing as though she were the lump, because she writes, the final layer of the story is that she writes the story to heal herself.
When you found out you had breast cancer, did you go through all the emotions, the fear of death scenario, the better tell the whole family because I'm a goner?
Yeah, it was, so I had breast cancer a year ago. And I was terrified and panicked and yeah, went through it all. I mean, I remember when I first found out, and I remember sort of like just the doctor phoned me. I was in Toronto with my family visiting, and I remember sort of saying about an hour afterwards, but don't call me a survivor. I don't want to be one of those breast cancer survivors. You know, I'll be something else. You know, I'm going to do this.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm going to do this over to the side, where the word survivor just never comes up. But of course, you have to go through it. You know, you have to. Every person I've ever talked to, they have a journey, and you have to go through it. And it's terrifying and you have to learn so much to get through it. And one of the things I did was I wrote, because that's what I do. And I surprised myself writing that story, because I wrote it. I'd only finished radiation 2 weeks before. And I wasn't expecting that I would be writing so soon about the cancer, but I needed to do that.
And were you more focused than normal?
Yes.
For some reason?
Yes, I was. It was funny. I felt as though a lot of things fell away with the cancer. And so I would get up and go down to my study and write. Like even like a week after I found out, I would just sort of like, you know, sort of stumble out of bed, get dressed, you know, put on my, you know, regular yoga pants and go downstairs. And that helped me, just the focus. And so I had written 7 of the stories, I think, or 6. And I just started to finish them. They were like, it was like things that were extraneous in my life fell away. And so that's how I ended up finishing the book.
Well, as you know, I survived it too. I don't know, what's the other word?
Yeah.
We didn't survive it.
We didn't survive it.
We beat it.
Yeah.
We're done with it.
We beat it. Yeah, we beat it.
We beat it.
Yeah.
That's a good one. But you realized, and I realized certainly, that how deep it is in your unconscious mind.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, for this story, definitely, I felt I was, basically what happened was I had started to draft a story about the breast cancer because I'd had a dream about a spider. And basically, I was in a hallway, and there was a spider about the size of my cancer. My cancer was big. It was like the size of a walnut. They told me first it was the size of a pea. It turned out it was the size of a walnut, which really, really freaked me out. Anyway, so in this dream, there was a spider on the ground, and it was that size. And I moved to the right, and it moved to the right. Then I moved to the left, and it moved to the left. And I realized when I woke up, it's in love with me. That's why it's following me around on the floor. It moves very slowly, like my cancer's slow growing, but it's following me everywhere. And that was the idea, the original idea for the story. Then I wrote it, didn't like it, very flat, nothing worked really, which is often the way with stories. You know, you have this good idea, but it doesn't quite work. And then I found the voice, and that was very, very exciting, this sort of second-person creepy voice that was kind of haunting me. And that just came out of an experience writing in my journal.
And great short fiction writers know it's editing that is the key to writing. I think long or short.
Yeah.
Being able to throw stuff out when it simply doesn't work. Easy for you to do, hard for you to do.
Oh, I just throw out so much stuff. I mean, I just have boxes of stuff that I ended up. When I was amazed after I finished this book, and I looked at all of the material and all of the notebooks, because I start by writing in a notebook, and then I transfer to the computer, then I go back again to a notebook. I had probably 10 or 12 big fat notebooks of the original writing, and just these stories twisting and turning and taking new forms. But you do have to throw out stuff, because writing short stories, at least for me, and I think for a lot of people, is like digging. And you have to dig down to a certain level before you even know, before you hit groundwater, before you know what the story is about. And that means that everything that you've dug through has to be thrown away.
So when you write something about an old man who obsesses over the size of his coffin, and when he dies, whether or not he can, the son can get the coffin out of the apartment to put him in the ground.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? That's in here.
Yes, I know. That came from a story that my father told us, which was actually the seed of it was that his grandfather had an obsession about how they were going to get the coffin down a narrow set of stairs. And he told us that he just obsessed about it later in his life. And I thought, wow, that would make a really good story.
Everybody has a favorite in a story collection, as you know. I love the story, I think you called it Clams.
Yeah. Oh, yeah? That's nice. Thank you. Yeah.
And it's about, you don't have to tell it all because people, of course, won't buy the book if you tell them all the stories.
Well, I won't give away the endings. It's about a man who is, he's in his 70s maybe. He's had a successful life, and he gets a letter from an old lover that he knew when he was in his early 20s. And she
was an older woman.
She was an older woman. She was 10 years older than him. And they had had a tempestuous affair in Lund. And she writes to him now and says that she remembers him vividly as, you know, a 20-year-old. And so the story is really about, so he actually sneaks off from his wife and goes and visits her in the old age home where she is in Victoria. And it's really about who gets to hold those memories of our younger selves, you know? It's always so interesting to me that if you don't see somebody for 30 years, they remember you. They hold you. They have a crystalline little picture of you as another person. They don't see all that aging. So that was part of what that was about.
If you run into an old boyfriend and you're of an age, and they dated you when you were in university together or something, they will say, you are just as cute as ever. And they do not see.
If they're nice.
If they're nice, but they don't see, you know, the 60-year-old, they see the 18-year-old.
Yeah.
I really think that happens.
If they're nice. If they're nice.
If not, they say, well, what happened to you?
Yeah, that's right. Or think that.
Or think that, yes, but perhaps don't say it.
Yeah.
Margaret Atwood mentored you.
Yes.
A little bit here, a little bit there.
Well, actually what happened was when I was just very first starting out, I applied to the Humber School for Writers, which had a summer program, and everyone wanted to get into Margaret Atwood's class, and I got in.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like with 5 other writers, and so we got her and Graham Gibson together for a week.
Graham Gibson, the wonderful husband, the funny husband who wrote the Book of Birds and the Bedside Book of Birds and
Both
all
of
of
them,
that. Radiance, your novel. You had a short story collection before this one.
Yeah.
What's next?
Well, I'm working on a novel, and it goes back and forth. Sometimes it's a novel, and sometimes it's a very funny process. I've been writing it, sometimes I write it as a play, and sometimes I write it as a novel. And I work on it as a play until I really get bogged down, and then I switch it over. But I'm finding that and I switch it over and then go internal on it. The material is quite difficult, so I'm still struggling with how to get under it.
Yes.
But
I get that.
Yeah.
And you come from this functional family, which I find amazing. I shouldn't say that I don't know your family, but father was an appeal court judge. You have a brother who translates books in Berlin. You have a brother who's an ambassador to the Netherlands. And I've often wondered if people write better from dysfunction or function. Who knows?
Oh, well, I think that the dichotomy between dysfunction and function is really probably, like a mirage, right? I mean, you can have dysfunction anywhere. We were highly dysfunctional. Let me just put that right on the table.
Just really smart. Okay, I thank you. How nice to meet you.
Yes,
this is marvelous. Oh, my darling stories, Shaena Lambert, my guest. And thank you for joining me this hour as we celebrate some of our finest writers working today. Join me again here on Shaw TV.